Thank you. Right now, reps with the Centers for Disease Control are tracking what they're calling a new COVID lineage.
Yeah, it's called BA.286. It was first detected in Denmark last month. Dr. Robert Citronberg, the Executive Medical Director of Infectious Disease and Prevention at Advocate Health Midwest, is here this morning. Doctor, good to see you.
Good morning.
So what do we need to know about? I thought we were done with it. Over it? It was out of here? Not quite. So what do we need to know about this?
Never really going away. And I think we probably talked about last year that would probably resurface as more like a seasonal respiratory virus. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
So while this new strain was just identified a couple of weeks ago, it's really literally only been found in a handful of patients, and it's not the one that's really circulating worldwide. Now, the concern about that new variant is that it's very different genetically from prior variants, so the concern is that it might escape the vaccines or natural immunity. But to set the landscape, currently what's circulating in this country are really two variants, one called the Eris variant and one called the Fornax variant. Both of those are very similar to prior strains, and your natural immunity from having had the virus or from getting vaccinated should still be protective against that.
Got it.
So what are the symptoms of the new variant?
They're really the same as the other ones. And what's important to note is that COVID, the illness, is much less severe than it was when the pandemic first started. Much more reminiscent of a common cold, maybe a flu-like illness. So, maybe a little fever, cough, congestion. While hospitalizations have ticked up a little bit in the last few weeks, the vast majority of patients who get COVID now are not going to need to be hospitalized. They're just going to be out for a few days with a respiratory illness.
So for the kids back to school today, anything that they or their parents need to know about this?
Well, it's, when you have congregate settings like schools, there's a chance that every virus will spread, not just COVID, but flu, RSV when that comes around. So just usual respiratory hygiene, covering your mouth and nose when you sneeze. Good hand washing still helps. And there's a vaccine that's coming probably in the middle of next month that should be very active against the new strains that are circulating. So we are advising most of our patients to wait just a few weeks to get that new vaccine, which is going to be much more effective against the strains than the old vaccine that we've had.
I'm just going to ask you about the boosters. Okay, so try that. All right. What about, is there still a real big need to keep getting tested?
It's interesting because everyone's doing home testing, right? So, and that's why we're having a hard time, actually. It's almost impossible to figure out how many cases there are because everybody is home testing. So yes, I think if you were having symptoms that are suggestive of COVID, so you've got that fever, the cough, the congestion, yes, it's still important to do home testing because if you're positive, you should still isolate from other people.
Good stuff to know. I mean, it's just like I want to hear it, then I don't want to hear it,
right. I mean, because our policy here is 10 days. Is that still necessary, 10 days?
So for most people, you can, once you've passed 5 days of symptoms, so after your 5th day of symptoms, as long as you're feeling better and you don't have a fever, in most settings you can return to work after that time wearing a mask for the next 5 days. But different companies have different policies regarding that.
All right. Interesting time yet again. Here we go. Dr. Robert Citronberg, Advocate of Aurora Health. Doctor, good to see you this morning. Thank you. We'll take a quick break. We're back after this.